Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 113 of Total Retail Talks. In today's episode, Total Retail's editor-in-chief, Melissa Campanelli, sits down with Roger Rawlins, CEO of DSW, and Jared Poff, CFO of DSW. Listen in as they discuss what's new in retail at this year's shop.org. And now, on to the show.
Hi, everybody. It's Melissa Campanelli, editor-in-chief of Total Retail, and we're here at shop.org in the podcast studio. And we're here for Total Retail Talks with some great folks here today at the show. We have Roger Rawlins, the CEO of DSW, and Jared Poff, the CFO as well, DSW. So thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you're having a nice show so far. Why don't we get started just a little bit about your background, Roger? I'm sure you've been in retail for a while, so why don't you just tell the folks a little bit about your background and how you ended up at DSW?
Yeah, no, I've actually been in retail now for about 25 years. Started my career in public accounting. I'm actually a CPA, really proud of that.
Oh, wow.
And have actually, until this year, maintained my CPA status, but I'm going to let that expire. Just a little too much going on in life. But no, I joined DSW 11 years ago as the controller of the business. Was lucky enough to have a leader of the brand at that time who was willing to give you a chance at trying something different. And I got to go over and run .com. And at that time, that business was struggling a bit. Mm-hmm. And so it was really decide, do we close it, do we sell it, or do we grow it? And it was a great opportunity. I did that for about 5 years and then took on innovation, and then 2 years ago became the CEO.
Great.
Yeah.
Before we get to Jared, was that unusual at the time that somebody from the financial background would be involved in the .com? I think that's interesting.
No, I think it was really unique at the time.
Yeah.
But it was because our CEO was a finance guy by trade, and so he was willing to take a chance. And we've talked about this earlier today with some other folks that talent is an important part of what we got to do to grow these businesses, and taking chances on people that you believe in and have demonstrated results. You got to go find those folks that you can take that chance with.
Awesome, that's great advice right there. Jared, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. I also have a lot of retail in my background. Being in Columbus, that's actually not uncommon. So I was started at Abercrombie at their offices. Also was at Big Lots for almost 11 years. But really, I knew several people at DSW. I knew Roger beforehand. I knew the prior CFO. I knew our chief administrative officer. And I kept always noticing how innovative that they were as a retailer, and they were one of the first to go to .com, one of the first to go to Omni, and it was something that I found very refreshing. So when they found an opportunity for me to come and join, I did that, and I was elevated to CFO just a little over a year ago.
Congratulations. Thank you. So I know that today you spoke a lot about some a new direction, I guess, or a new focus that you guys are doing at DSW. So why don't you just briefly tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, more than happy to. We've been around for 25 years, and we're real proud of the fact that we believe we're one of the most innovative retailers. And it goes back 25 years ago when we created Open Sell, where you didn't have to sit down and have someone fit you. It started with our rewards program 25 years ago that now is 95% of our sales and 25 million rewards members. So we have a history of being a very innovative company, but things got stale for the last 2 or 3 years, and we were so hung up on trying to deliver something to the bottom line that we lost sight of our customer. And so about a year and a half ago, we challenged our team to think differently about who we need to be go forward. What's our purpose? And no longer is it about 30-20-10, which was like the operating margins of the business. It's now about we inspire self-expression. We have to mean something more to the consumer than just buying and selling shoes. There has to be an emotional connection that we create. And so today at shop.org, that's what we talked about, is how we're going to bring that experience to life in, I think, some very unique ways that, at least as of today, other retailers are not pursuing.
Well, I mean, I'd love to hear about those. I don't know if Jared wants to talk about it or Roger. I know that there was some key initiatives that you talked about. We'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, so there are really three, and Jared will chime into three things that we're really focused on doing. The first is about relaunching our rewards program. And to date it's really been about a transaction relationship, and we think we've got to add a service element into that offering. So you're going to hear about us testing some things like storage, rental, repair, things that are tied to footwear, so that when you think about footwear, DSW has to be the first place you think of. And earning the ability to receive those benefits or those services or a discount on those services is an opportunity for us. So that's something we're going to pursue. And then the other piece of it is really bringing the warehouse to life in a more unique way. Real proud of the fact that we operate over 500 warehouses between the U.S. and Canada and a couple internationally, but we want to use them as a true warehouse. And roughly half of our digital demand today is fulfilled by a local warehouse, but it needs to leverage more capacity. So how do we put more product in the actual brick and mortar location without buying more inventory? So it's emptying the fulfillment center we have in Columbus, Ohio, that is in the past been for the .com business, and bringing it to life in the brick and mortar. And we talk about how do we Uber ourselves, because if you look at our footprint, we only use about 20% of the cubic capacity of our stores. And so we're testing a new concept that allows us to get more product on the floor. And then the third piece of the strategy is really bringing to life new technology, so that our associates have as much information at their fingertips as you have as a consumer. And instead of having them have 9 devices with 30 different systems and 30 different logins, giving them one tool so they can engage with the consumer and provide you the kind of service you would expect. So the 3 of those things combined over the next 12 months is going to differentiate our brand and help us inspire self-expression.
That's great. That sounds like a really cohesive plan, and I feel like there's a lot of retailers out there trying to do a lot of these things, but I think the problem that they're having is like finding ways to monetize them. So I think it's a great idea to tie it in. The first initiative you talked about, servicing the consumers, and having that be tied into their loyalty program. I think that's a really great idea. Did you want to add anything, Jared? Or
Roger hit on all of those. The only thing I would say is, wrapped in between all of those and around everything we do is really a focus on talent as well. So as we look at talent across the entire organization, whether that be in the stores or in the warehouses. So, as we move to a more customer-focused model and less all about, you got a task at this certain time and do this thing, but you're really there to service and engage with the customer, that requires a different talent set. When you look all the way at the home office and, how we are elevating the assortment and what we expect of the merchant team and the planners, all of that has been an intense focus on talent, and I think that is something that has been a focus for us and will continue for quite a while.
Can you talk a little bit about talent and how you go about, like, if you have any best practices around hiring or what you look for, because it's such a hot topic now. There's so much turnover in retail. Do you have any kind of tips? I'm sure that's the $64,000 question, but.
Well, I can start. I think, we just, here at shop.org, someone was presenting and showed a stat that, I'm a sports fan, so this one stuck with me, that the Cleveland Cavaliers' average age is 29, and that Amazon's average associate age is 26. And so we've got to think differently about the type of talent, how we bring people into our organization, how we challenge them, how we give them opportunities to grow their career. And, that's not the way retail has thought. And we were just talking about this a little bit ago over lunch. I worked at the Limited 20 years ago, and that was the culture of the Limited when I worked there years ago, when they had a ton of brands that they were managing. And that's work we've got to do. So I think when you ask the question about how do you change your behavior, I don't think it's about us changing our behavior. I think it's about us looking for perhaps different skill sets than just the minute a job opens, let's go hire someone from another retailer. I think we've got to be open to trying new things and giving people different experiences like both of us have, that, I've had a chance to do something that I never dreamed I would get to do. Right. But go find people like that. That's how we have to think, and not just go hire someone that's worked for 50 years or 40 years or 30 in a bucket. That's right. Outside of the box. Yeah.
So you talked a little bit too about technology and how you're arming your folks with technology. What are some of the technology trends that you're looking at right now? There's so much technology here. We're sitting in the middle of a tech floor. So what are some of the technologies that you're interested in? What are some that you might feel there's a lot of hype or bells, sort of smoke and mirrors type of thing?
I think the things for us around artificial intelligence, I think, are really interesting, because with 25 million rewards members, being able to gather data and learn from it quickly to be able to make better decisions around where we put product, the kind of product we buy, how we engage with the consumer. I think that can be a game changer for someone like us. And of late, we've spent some time with folks in the grocery industry trying to learn more about what it is they do. And there's a lot that can be learned there, and because they're really into analytics in a pretty significant way. And I think that's an opportunity for us. That's from what I've gotten out of this. I think that's where there's opportunity. I don't know, Jared, anything else that you...
No, I would agree. And again, wrapped around that in talent is also what other types of new types of experience do you need to bring into the organization? So as Roger said, looking at the grocery industry and what they've been able to do, I mean, that's a skill set around data scientists and analytics that traditionally you might not find in a fashion retailer, and really understanding that and saying, okay, where do we have vacancies, where do we have gaps, and trying to fill it that way. On top of the technology.
Yeah, I keep hearing about data scientists here. I'm ready to go home and tell my kids that they need to become data scientists. It seems like it's a real there's a real need.
The sad thing, I have a daughter who's in college, and she wants to be a math teacher, and I keep telling her that's great, but go into data analytics. Yeah. It's a lot more higher profile and great opportunities. But no, she's going to be a teacher.
Oh, well, that's nice. So let's talk a little bit about the state of retail today. I'm sure everyone's heard it over and over again. What are your feelings on it? Just organically. I don't want you to say if it's. There's a lot of people saying that it's dying, whatever. But what's just like your natural feeling about it?
Well, today in the presentation we did, we talked about ice cubes. And we use that as an example on a regular basis that we believe retail is a bunch of ice cubes sitting out in 40-degree weather. And depending on the size of your ice cube could determine how long you're able to make it. And we just feel like people are melting away because they're not thinking differently. They're not willing to try different things. And that's why for us as an organization, going after we inspire self-expression is different than saying we are America's favorite place for shoes. And that's a different mission that we're on, and we feel like you have to go after a different approach, a emotional connection you create with the consumer, that if you're just going to set and compete the way that we've historically done it, over time, you might last 5-10 years, but over time, you're not going to survive. Mm-hmm. And so we talked about that actually today in our discussion. Right. So I don't know, Jared, if you had anything else.
No, related to DSW specifically, as I mentioned, one of the things that attracted me to DSW was this constant need to innovate. And when I look at, how the chairman and the board decided who to run the company in today's retail world, Roger was the head of innovation before he was CEO. And to me, that is so refreshing and so indicative of the type of value that they place on innovation at DSW.
Okay, I'm going to just jump ahead a little. And we can make this the final question. What are your goals for DSW, like this year, 5 years from now? Can you talk at all about that?
Yeah, I would say we really, to be honest, we're not looking beyond like the next 2 years. There's so much change going on. I think when you look out over the next 12 to 18 months as a team, when we're able to come to something like this or tell our shareholders that we have rolled kids to our entire chain. We have launched our Sell It, Move It, Run It capability out to our field. We've taken this new warehouse concept and we've taken it to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stores. When we've strengthened our infrastructure that allows us to operate at a level that ensures the security of all of our associates and consumers, that we've launched the ability to rent, store, and repair footwear, and we've integrated a company that we are going to acquire next year, the other half of Town Shoes in Canada, which is 4 other banners up in Canada. So if in 12 months we are able to come here and talk about the fact that we have made those things happen, we think those are true game changers for us as a brand and as an enterprise. So that's sort of the outlook we have. I would say it's near term. We talk a lot about 3 years from now, but frankly, we don't share that outside of the team that we talk to it day in and day out.
Yeah, sure. You want to focus on what's important, what's in front of you right now.
That's right.
Did you want to add to that?
No, the CEO obviously has said what the strategies are, and I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Just one more question. So, are there any business leaders that you admire or look up to? I always like to ask professionals that. Is there anyone that comes to mind?
I have something I call my Mount Rushmore, and they're probably a group of leaders that you might not know very well, but people that have worked in the retail industry that I have worked for, that I admire, who've given me opportunities. Doug Probst, who is our CFO, who was willing to sort of take on my controller duties when I was given the opportunity to go to .com. He stretched me, he challenged me, and he's somebody I look up to. Mike McDonald, our old CEO, who was someone who was willing to take a risk on an unconventional leader of .com. Peter Horvath, who I worked for at The Limited for many years. Peter has been in multiple retailers. But with all three of those people, when you meet them, you would look at them and say, that person's a leader. And I've always liked following people like that. And they've shaped who I am as a person and who I am as a leader.
That's great.
Sure.
There's the cliche answer, but being in finance, I would have to say one of the people that I've admired the most is Warren Buffett, and what he's been able to do by not just saying I'm following a mold, but I really am investing with a strategic purpose, and then he really challenges his companies to do the best that they can while trying to see if there's things combined they can do greater than separate.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good answer. So anyway, well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciated our conversation. I thought it was great. I hope that you enjoyed shop.org. And I'd like to say thanks to all of our listeners. And this is Melissa Campanelli signing off.
Thanks for listening. For more information, be sure to check out our podcast channel page at www.mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play, but please remember to subscribe to our podcast channel page as well. Lastly, don't forget to connect with us on social, on Twitter at MyTotalRetail, and on Facebook at facebook.com/MyTotalRetail. Until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.